There are video game missions out there that just grab you from start to finish and then they stay with you. It's not necessarily that they'll shock you or do something totally off the wall, although they might. It's just that they're that good. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 of the most legendary video game missions ever. Starting off at number 10, it's Titanfall 2's Effect and Cause. Now, Titanfall is a relatively new series for this kind of a list because it really only has one real single-player campaign, and that makes it all the more impressive that it happens to feature probably one of the most brilliant and iconic video game missions ever. Like, we're talking about the mission where you get the device that lets you freely travel between the past and present. You only get it really for one mission, and it's cool as hell. Because you do so much with the limited amount of time you have it. You use it to avoid enemies, you can get the drop on soldiers, you can get around environmental hazards, and every single time you do any of these things, it's beyond satisfying. It's fun because you can faintly see the ghosts of soldiers in the past, which makes it easy to reposition yourself and get the drop on them when they show up. The whole thing is amazingly overpowered. These guys can barely touch you with the proper application of time travel, and it's straight up awesome. The guys who created Titanfall 2, Respawn, were made up of former Infinity Ward people, which that company did some of the best Call of Duty campaigns. Like, they just know how to do a great FPS campaign, and Effect and Cause is probably one of the best of all time. Honestly, basically every level in Titanfall 2 is really great, but that gimmick just makes that level stand out. At number 9, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare's Death from Above. Now, we've covered All Guiled Up pretty extensively on this channel already. We actually did an entire video about it if you're curious, so that's why we decided to talk about another truly iconic mission from Call of Duty 4. This is the one with the AC-130 gunship. The mission before it, Hunted, actually sets things into motion, where the SAS Special Forces team, led by Captain Price, is shot down by a Stinger missile over Russia, and they're forced to escape from hostile forces that are hunting them down. It takes a while, but once the gunship gets into position, that's when the perspective changes from the guys on the ground to the Spectre gunship's TV operator. You're even given a bird's eye view of the entire area, and you've got to take out the enemies to keep Price's squad safe until they can be extracted.
Okay, he's moving again. Rolling in. You got him. Copy. Smoke him. Yeah, good kill. I see lots of little pieces down there. You gonna get him? We got a moving vehicle here. Negative. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage any vehicles on the main highway.
It is a tense and strangely eerie mission where you're destroying faceless enemies from a TV monitor while you're given instructions in a very professional and detached way. It's a stark contrast to the chaos on the ground and calls to mind a lot of real-life night vision bombing footage. It also kind of makes a point about how horrifying war is now. Anyway, fighting enemies, determining who's friend and who's enemy, that's really what makes the whole mission tense. It's just an all-around unique experience that captures the feeling of Modern Warfare, maybe more than any other mission in the game. And number 8 is Grand Theft Auto 5's The Big Score. Now, GTA 5 is a game all about pulling heists, and these missions are, unsurprisingly, the highlights of that. They're all great, from the first one, which is a basic jewelry store heist, to the last one, but in our mind, the last one's probably the most memorable, obviously. You get two options for how you want it all to play out. Either you take the subtle approach, which involves robbing a gold transport, or the obvious approach, where you just bust into the vault itself and take the gold that way. Both versions of the mission are totally different. They're also both really fun in their own way, but I'm gonna focus mainly on the obvious approach because it's way more bombastic than the subtle way. You pretty much end up doing a little bit of everything in this mission. It starts with using a giant drill to bore into the gold vault, then you get into a massive shootout at the dig site while Trevor escapes with a huge pallet of gold hanging from his helicopter. Then the real meat of the mission starts.
It was a whole lot less successful than your lick, but we needed to divide attention. Hey, come on! Back it across the bridge! Move or get moved! Beam up to the mothership!
There's a massive shootout where you run through the financial district of downtown Los Santos, blowing anyone, anything, whatever. If it stands in your way, you blow it up. It's like Heat times 100, and it's totally ridiculous in the best way. Once Michael manages to evade the cops, you switch back to Trevor, where you have to maneuver close to the enemy helicopter so Lester can hit them with a rocket launcher. At the end, you dump the gold onto a moving train and bug out. It's over the top, it's fun as hell, it's just great. And number 7 is Red Dead Redemption's And the Truth Will Set You Free. Another Rockstar game with some of the all-time best-in-class missions is the first Red Dead Redemption. Now, there's lots of options, but when I think legendary, my mind just goes to this mission. The one where you finally hunt down Dutch Vanderland, the leader of the old gang, and your final target. Everything in this game leads up to this very moment. It's pretty much the climax of the whole story, and where traditionally a lot of games would end, everything about it really feels like a final mission. Like you, your agent handlers, and all mount up and ride up to the mountains of Dutch's stronghold, all while the game's epic theme song plays. What follows is one of the biggest shootouts in the game as you work your way up before confronting Dutch.
Hello again, John. Hello, Dutch. We gotta stop meeting like this.
Sure.
I got a plan, John.
You always got a plan, Dutch.
This is a good one.
I don't doubt it.
He's not so much your enemy, though, as a broken old man, and instead of facing you, he just kills himself. Even though he's barely in the game, he's a character that leaves a huge impression on anyone who played RDR, so it's no surprise that his character plays such a huge role in Red Dead 2. Some people might think that the actual final mission is a little more legendary than this one, but the shootout combined with the amazing soundtrack is really what makes this one stand out, in my opinion. And number 6 is Dynasty Warriors 2, The Battle at Hulao Gate. Now, if you were a PlayStation 2 kid, you probably at least rented Dynasty Warriors 2. If people remember anything from this game, it's the objective that simply says, do not pursue Lu Bu. And when they say do not pursue, they mean it, because this guy will mess you up. The line itself is legendary, but the mission itself deserves a lot of recognition as well. It's a lot more basic than a lot of the entries on this list, but it still deserves mention simply for being one of the most iconic missions in any game of its era. It's always the battle at Hulao Gate, and it occurs not just in Dynasty Warriors 2, but in a lot of future Dynasty Warriors games as well. And the general events of the mission are basically the same. There's a gate, and you gotta battle at it. At a certain point, a badass warrior named Lu Bu will appear, and you have no chance of beating this person, so you have to avoid him. The mission, for whatever reason, just keeps showing up again and again, and if you've played just the second game, though, you remember it. Now, if you've played the whole series, it's permanently embedded in your brain, and you cannot escape. When it first came out, Dynasty Warriors 2 was a truly unique game. Getting to play as this unstoppable badass who can plow through hundreds of soldiers felt completely awesome. But this mission, you suddenly find this enemy who's not just a total chump. And compared to you who are just able to destroy so many, it actually has some weight, you know? It's a badass mission for different reasons than the others, but still badass nonetheless. And number 5 is Half-Life 2. We don't go to Ravenholm. Half-Life 2 isn't a game with traditional missions exactly, but each part of the game is distinct enough that it feels alright separating them out. It's another game with a lot of standout moments, and a great game as a whole, but Ravenholm just really sticks in people's memories. First, it's the first place you go after getting the gravity gun, and they also really just cut you loose here. It starts off as kind of a horror experience as you're learning how to fight enemies without just shooting them. Ammo's really scarce in this section of the game, so the best way to kill them is to make makeshift projectiles and launch them at them, which definitely takes some getting used to. But once you do, it's beyond awesome. There's explosives and saw blades littered all over the place. You can use them to slice and blow up swarms of enemies, and strategically placed traps can be incredibly fun. What starts off as a Resident Evil style horror experience turns into kind of a sandbox of destruction as you find new and interesting ways to kill your enemies. I think it's even that transformation that makes it so wild. But what further makes this place stand out is the Gregory, the only guy still alive in this place. His boisterous attitude and his mad ramblings pull you through the level just to see what he'll do or say next. He's a great character that you only spend a little time with. This guy's so beloved that they were actually going to make an entire expansion pack with him. It got canceled, as did a lot of Half-Life related things through the years, but it still goes to show you how much people liked this dude.
What? Who is this? Another life to save? I'll keep my eye on you. More than that, I cannot promise.
And number 4 is Uncharted 2's Locomotion. That's the train level if you're not familiar with the naming. The Uncharted series arguably peaked with this mission. Like, there's tons of amazing set pieces in the series after this mission, but if we're talking legendary missions, this is really the only possible answer. It stands out so hard from all of the games. It's amazing. As usual with these games, Drake's in a race with the bad guy to get to some ancient city, and in this one, it's the lost city of Shambhala, hidden somewhere in the mountains of Nepal. In an attempt to catch up with the bad guys and rescue Chloe, Drake jumps onto the train, and from there, simple goal, right? Make your way to the front of the train and rescue Chloe. Of course, this is Uncharted we're talking about, so things spiral way out of control fast. The whole mission is a massive set piece where you're fighting soldiers and helicopters, you're hanging off the side of a constantly moving train, and on top of it just being high octane and enjoyable, it's also visually an amazing achievement. You can pretty much see the entire train at any given time, and the way everything transitions seamlessly from a dense jungle to this open lake to a snowy mountaintop, it's still impressive. Even now, the escalation of the action is just like about as expertly paced as I've ever seen in a game. And number 3 is Mass Effect 2, The Suicide Mission. In terms of literal missions, the climax to Mass Effect 2 might be the best one of them all. Literally, the entire game is about preparing for this mission. You need to get the right people, get the proper upgrades for your ship, and learn everything you can to get ready. Like, in all seriousness, the suicide part also, it's not there to sound scary. Depending on your choices, characters can and will die, and they don't come back in Mass Effect 3. It's not 100% clear every time why or how some of this happens, but for the most part, it really is your fault if you make the wrong call and some character does have to die because you could have gotten somebody better at some skill or you failed to properly upgrade the ship, whatever. There's a lot to take into account, but what really makes this mission great is just how thrilling it actually is. The presentation is fantastic and every part of it really gives you the feeling that what you're doing is life or death. The chances that you actually die is pretty much impossible if you actively try to do the mission, but there's such a great job done building tension, it feels like failure's possible at any moment. It's an amazing climax to what's often considered the best game in the series. It's a great mission, not just because it's fun to play, but because there's real stakes. If you die, I guess big deal, you just reload a save, but if your friends and allies die and you win, they're kind of gone forever. You really have to redo the whole game, or at least their part of it, to have them not die. It's all down to you to keep them alive, and getting everyone home isn't guaranteed. Basing an entire game around pulling off one big mission is a great idea, and they just pulled it off perfectly with this game. And number 2 is GoldenEye's Facility, the mission every single person remembers. Back in 1997, GoldenEye did things a little different. Instead of being a standard shooter where you skated through an arena-filled map, blasting everything and everyone you see, it made you think about what you're doing. There was stealth, mission objectives, and tactical combat. It looks primitive as hell these days, but back then, it was absolutely groundbreaking. Anybody who had a Nintendo 64 had a copy of this game, and the level everyone remembers is this one, the Facility. It's hard to describe what makes it so iconic these days, but it really is. The objectives, the music, the exploration, the final confrontation, it's burned into the memories of everyone who played it. These days it looks a little brown and clunky, but back then, this was as close to real as it got. You also have to kind of talk about the dam. It's the first actual level, and at the end, James Bond jumps off the side of the dam, and it's technically a different level, but it's also kind of part of Facility. I like combining them personally when I'm thinking about what I like to play. In fact, sometimes I go back to the game and really all I want to do is play the dam and the Facility. There are other good levels in the game, but they're just not on those levels. They're amazing. Really, that was such an amazing thing for the time. And finally, at number 1 is Halo Combat Evolved: The Silent Cartographer, the island level where all the best parts of Halo come together. For some people, the entire Halo series peaked with just the 4th level of the first game, and I'm not going to be quite that dramatic, but it really is an awesome level. Legendary is a good word for it. It pulls together like everything that makes the Halo games unique and exciting. The objective is simple. You find the map room for the Halo installation hidden somewhere in the facility on this island. To get to it, you need to assault the Covenant beachhead and break through their defenses. It's this level where the open-ended nature of Halo's combat really comes into focus. You can kind of use whatever weapons and vehicles you can get your hands on, and they all have different strategies, and it all contrasts itself really well. The opening cutscene is great all by itself, for the big reason it has an incredible soundtrack.
We're approaching the LZ. It's gonna be hot. Get set to cut out quick. Touchdown. Hit it, Marines!
Visually, this level isn't particularly different from the rest of Halo, but in terms of gameplay, it's so well paced, doesn't go on for too long, and it's just got so many interesting aspects to it without it being a completely closed experience. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's kind of the platonic ideal of a Halo level, and while it's probably not the best in the whole series, it's definitely the most legendary. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.